Got it.
All right.
Moved here in Washington about 2.5 years ago. Put my daughter into school. She was
How
really
old was
bubbly,
she?
outgoing. She's she
How
was
old was
12.
she when you put her in school in Washington?
12.
12.
12.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Um, about 5 months later, after she started school, I found out that she was in an LGBTQ group.
Okay, hold on
And
1 second. Folks, she was in that group for about 6 months because a teacher approached her and said, "Hey, I got a group that you might be interested in going to." And they told her that they didn't have to tell Tracy, the mother, that she didn't have to
okay,
tell her. So she's been going to this group for 6 months. Tracy has no idea. Go ahead.
right, they sent her home with a form as she said that we were Christian. So it just said a friends group. So when I did find out, I went to the school.
So they lied.
Right.
They lied about the group that she was attending. Okay, that's a felony, by the way, folks. Y'all understand that? That's called kidnapping. You can't
And then,
you can't take somebody's child and put them into a group without the parents' knowledge and consent. Go ahead.
what they did is they had a sign for a friends group and just didn't have the real story on it.
As to what it was, that's called bait and
Correct.
switch. Yeah, that's called kidnapping. It's in a
So by
different
that
venue.
time, she didn't have any friends. So that was their only friends that she had met and that she said that would accept her. And we went to take her out, and they said it'd be detrimental to her. It's only a few more months. She did cry. So we just let her go. And she would just stay after school, even if we said no. So then after that, she was bullied during that whole time, had problems with that school. They had to fire the IEP, a director, because they weren't doing their job. And the second to last day of school, we were in front of the assistant principal talking about the next year, and my daughter went off the rail and said, "You guys failed me, you abandoned me, and you let me get bullied the whole year. I'm not ever coming back here." So that summer, I spoke to the superintendent.
Okay,
They had
she
another,
wasn't blaming you at the time, right?
nope.
Okay. Now, just one more question before we keep going, because this is going to start going in people's mind, and they're not going to be listening to what you're saying. Okay. So,
Mhm.
are you a drinker? Are you an alcoholic?
No, I'm not.
Do you do any drugs? Do you get
No,
stoned
I
all the
don't.
time?
No,
Okay. You don't do any heroin or anything like that.
nope.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on.
So we got her transferred schools. I took her shopping right before school started. She bought $500 worth of clothes. She wanted skirts. She wanted her hair done, all of it.
Well,
Three
that
months
sounds
later.
very abusive to me, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, anyways, I came home. She started school maybe 3 or 4 months. I came home and her hair was all cut off and she wanted to be a boy.
Okay, so folks, have you put it together yet? A group behind the scenes, an LGBTQ group, has talked this girl into wanting to be a boy without the mother's consent, without anything. Now, before that, you've been living with her by yourself, with her, mom and daughter, kicking it and all that kind of stuff, getting along. She's always talked about boys, right? Around that time, 12, 13 years old.
Yep.
Always talked about boys. And now all of a sudden she goes to this LGBTQ, and all of a sudden now she is a boy. So we've got some brainwashing going on, number one. And number two, we've got something which is happening, which is they are grooming her as a pedophile grooms children, treating a 14-year-old as if she's a grown-up and able to make decisions. And now we're going to be moving to the courts because this gets worse. Go ahead.
First, I took her to the doctor to get a hormone test. I thought that would be the end of it. And the doctor said to me, well, it doesn't show any boys' hormones yet, but it could. So you have gender dysphoria. And I was floored.
So we have the doctor involved. We have an administrators at the school is involved. CPS hadn't even gotten involved yet.
Nope.
So we have a school board. We have the school administrators, principal, vice principal, all those people, secretary, clerk, all that crap. Okay, we got all those people involved. Now we have a doctor involved.
And then from being,
Go ahead.
right.
Go ahead.
From being bullied, next thing I know, I get a call from the school that she's got a suicide plan and I need to take her to the hospital.
Okay, so now all of a sudden she goes to LGBTQ and a year later she wants to kill herself.
Correct.
All right,
so
go ahead.
She was in for 7 days and she was doing fine, went back to school, started all over again. The victims are treated like the bullies and the bullies are treated like the victims. So she ended up in the hospital again. This time was at Providence Sacred Heart in Spokane, Washington. The first week went great. We talked about no medication because she had a psychiatrist that was all in natural since she has had so many problems with ADHD medicines and allergic reactions. We agreed after 7 days about, all of a sudden my daughter says to me, they're giving me all this medication. So I went to go get the medical records. As I was going through the medical records, the situations, I'm now interfering with treatment. They're causing scenes that never happened in the medical records as far as stories she would tell me, and then I would learn it was something different that they were actually writing in the medical records. So my daughter was so angry, she wanted to leave. So I was going to have her transferred to the place that she was already at. She seemed to be doing great there. Well, when I got the medical records and I started questioning things started getting really odd, weird. She kept getting in trouble. They were taking her markers and everything. I had to get approved to get her, her markers, her books, her own pillow, her own blanket. They were taking it all away from her. Well, finally, she was so angry. I said, I need to talk to the doctor. And I already had the okay that I could get her transferred. And the nurse comes out and says, oh, well, I have to let her know her rights. And
here's one of the things right here. It says Tracy and John refused to use Michael's, quotations, preferred name and pronouns. Michael told RF that his parents also forced him to watch Republican-based political videos, which Michael does not want to do. Do you watch political-based videos yourself, Tracy?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody watches videos.
I mean, from the Republican Party.
No, it's from Truth Media, not from the Republican Party.
Well, you know what I'm saying, right? In other words, This is BS right here because you don't watch Republican-based political videos, meaning coming from the Republican Party, that you're just going to make her sit there and watch Republican Party videos.
Nope.
Spewing out their propaganda. That's what they're saying here. So they got this one. That's what these people are saying. They have made an enemy out from a mother and a daughter. Okay, that's a daughter, meaning that's a girl. Now come after T. Rochelle. She's a girl. Please come after the T. Rochelle. You won't do it because you know I'll make you look like idiots. Because I know your Baal Peor religion crap. All right? I know exactly what you peckerheads are doing. Now, there's also Tracy states Tracy is disruptive to 13-year-old treatment at blank and is interfering with treatment, meaning that she's not going along with this complete horse shit that her daughter is a freaking boy. That's forced religion under Baal Peor, Baalpeor. That's what LGBTQ is. It's a religion, a satanic religion, forcing their religion on young children. Groom them to go against their parents. That's what devil-worshiping cults do. Parents refusing to acknowledge his preferred pronouns, it's a her, and his name, which is her name. 13-year-old is being discharged today. Tracy states 13-year-old has an appointment with the RISE program. That is a devil-worshiping name, RISE, okay, on Monday. Is concerned with Tracy will not follow through with services, okay? In other words, to go along with this whole identity change horseshit, to try to change her daughter into a boy. Now, did you have anything else to say before we wanted to talk about this last weekend, or this week? I'm sorry, court thing, because that has ended.
I just wanted to say that her attorney at the time, the CPS, got involved to do a state evaluation because she wanted to sign herself out at 13. And if she signed herself out at 13, then that means the state comes in, does their evaluation. Guess what? Now she's involuntary and I can't get her out. So also, if they're involuntary for over 14 days, they lose their gun rights, by the way. I begged her not to sign it, but my daughter only heard, I can get out right now. The state worker called me, which is the same caseworker that she has right now. Go figure. And the state worker asked me a question if I could keep her safe. And I said, I could keep her safe. I don't know about the school. She puts in the medical records. I'm disgusted because her name is Michael. And I told them to fix her, which that was never said.
Right. They said that here in the Westwood Middle School, because the school has turned him gay.
Yeah.
And Tracy was going to sue the school. Well, if you're in an LGBTQ crowd and they're constantly talking to a 13, 14-year-old girl and saying certain things, eventually, and being nice about it, and then treating her like she's some kind of grown-up and can make decisions on her own about who she is and what's going on, of course, they're going to come back and start saying, we were right because you're going to break that spell. Mama's got a lot of power over daughter. They got to break that spell or break that connection between you two.
Right. And that's what they were doing. Is I was saying she's not taking that medicine, and behind the scenes they're telling her she's 13 and she makes that choice if she's going to get out. So she was so angry at that place. The attorney, her attorney at the time, told me, don't say anything, but you got to ask for a lawyer. They're trying to turn your stories. So I sat there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. And I went through every single medical record that she had, which was like 3 inches thick. And the stories that were in there were unbelievable, things that never even happened, or things to make her look like she was crazy or something was wrong with her. They told her she had bipolar. So I finally get her out. I take her to the RISE program. So they're worried about me and services, but the RISE program discharged her because after 2 weeks, because she didn't want to be there. So I took her.
Wait a minute. If she was gay, why wouldn't she want to be there?
Yep.
If she was actually a dude, why wouldn't she want to be there with all her dude friends?
She didn't feel like she belonged. That's what she said.
Okay, she didn't feel like she belonged. So obviously, all of this money that's being spent and all of these medicines and everything else is being administered, okay, to a 14-year-old girl without consent. She's being pulled into these programs without consent because she said she didn't feel like she belonged.
Right.
That's the real little girl coming out saying, hey, I think I'm in over my head here. That's what's really going on. Okay.
Right.
I think I'm in over my head, Mom. I don't know what to do here. I'm in the middle of this. I've made some stupid decisions. I don't want to admit it yet because I'm 14 and I've made a lot of mistakes. And all of a sudden, I don't belong here.
They were giving her lithium and melatonin, which melatonin does the opposite and makes her stay up, which that is what they use to groom the kids and get their adrenochrome ready.
Okay, so yeah, we'll not go that far. So we've got her on lithium, which keeps her awake.
No, melatonin.
Melatonin. Okay,
lithium,
I'm sorry. I don't know anything about that stuff. Okay.
That's okay.
Melatonin.
The lithium is what makes them lose consciousness if they're on a higher dose.
Okay, so melatonin keeps them awake. Well, I remember when I was listening to Kathy O'Brien in the MK Ultra organization, they used to do the same thing to her. They would keep her starving and awake, constantly tired and starving.
Yeah, melatonin is supposed to help you sleep, but her, it does the opposite.
Okay, all right. Keeps her awake.
Yep.
So they must have been giving her something else too. If she's complaining that she's awake all the time. So this 14-year-old girl has gone from just a regular school kid to this huge mess. Okay.
I barely got her out. Yeah, I barely got her out.
Right. So now it's come down to you lost her. And she ended up going and staying with her stepdad. Not her real father, her stepfather.
No, actually, what happened was COVID started.
Okay.
And then she ended up back in the hospital. She took a bottle of pills because she was bullied. And then COVID started and she was depressed. She was in there one day, but she refused, you guys. She screamed she was never going to that hospital again. So then the school shows up during the summer at the house and wants to see how she's doing. Well, COVID, they started school back for the first time in the end of September. And my ex-husband's sister-in-law and brother asked me if they could have my daughter come over to their house for COVID because they had to do online school and I could go back to work because I had to be home with her for 24 hours stuck in COVID and watching her. So I thought about it. And since she didn't want to go to the other school, I registered over there. And then my daughter sends, everything was going fine. It was about a week or two that she was over there trying to get on a schedule and I would pick her up during the middle of the week and then on the weekends so I could get a job. And on October, I believe 1st or 2nd, she emailed me that her theater teacher, she thinks is a pedophile, her and her friend, and they feel uncomfortable. So the next morning, I made a call to the school and the principal said, well, they're in this class with seniors and they do more mature content, but she will check it out. Everybody likes that teacher. I get an email. She thinks everything's fine and it's okay to tell their 14-year-old to act sexy, hot, and like a little girl and a poem they just wrote about their teenage years. Right after that, 2 days later, I believe it was on the 5th of October, I go to pick my daughter up and I got the ex-sister-in-law acting crazy like she's controlling my kid. And I told her, she's not the mother. I am. I will come get my daughter anytime I want. During that time, we found out that they were organizing with the school. She wanted to help my daughter, so the school had her come there, and they told her to go file a report with CPS. Now I'm on drugs and I'm crazy all of a sudden.
Okay, so we can basically call it somebody had the hots for your daughter in this organization. They liked her, they wanted to do it, and they had a lot of pull and a lot of push everywhere in that whole area to get this girl alone.
Yep.
and under a family that would accept somebody dating her.
Yeah. The sister-in-law thought it was okay that they were able to act, inappropriately, and that was okay because it was acting class. And mind you, this teacher, Henry Sipe, brought LGBTQ 8 to 12 years ago to this school district. And he's making 38 to 68% higher than the whole nation.
Who?
Has a real estate firm. The theater teacher, Henry Sipe.
Brought that community to the school.
Yes. And he's making 38 to 68% higher than teachers in the whole entire nation, even during COVID.
Okay. So that's kind of telling everybody that there's a definite conspiracy going on by this same group. So they're moving in. Okay. I think McInerney said, and I remember talking about it, within the last year, I ended up talking, I said, eventually what they're going to do, mark my words, folks, that they're going to make it illegal for anyone to turn down a transgender for a date. Where it's a hate crime, you go to jail, 2, 3 years, 5 years. If you turn a transgender down because they're transgender, to go out on a date. So that means a transgender can just go out and ask somebody, would you like to go out with me? And you say no. And they go, it's because I'm transgender, isn't it? And then write a complaint against you and get your ass thrown in jail. That's how stupid this is getting. McInerney said certain Democrats are speaking about creating a new law that would make it a crime to refuse to date a transgender based on who they are. Seriously. That's how satanic this is becoming. Okay? So go ahead, Tracy. Are we at the court point yet?
Almost.
All right, go ahead.
October 22nd, it looks like they were conspiring together before any emergency order was stamped or signed, however they want to put it. And they had no emergency to take her in the first place. They were giving her bed items, mattresses, clothes, coats, whatever. So they have already decided that she's not going to live with me anymore, and they're going to let her live with the ex-sister-in-law and brother.
Okay, now stop. Folks, Tracy has a court order for full custody for her daughter. Right now, a court order. And no one in that district will enforce it. And now they're claiming they've lost it. She has full custody with the real father, which doesn't come around anyways. This is the stepfather and his brother and his sister-in-law.
Correct.
That aren't even related. They're not related. You might as well just give them to anybody. You can give her to anyone. And didn't they say that we knew that there was no emergency? And didn't they say that we've been told to take her because we can provide a better home for her than her single mother?
Yes, and we have it on recording. We just won't play it here. It's evidence.
It's evidence. We do have that recorded. Everything we're talking about is all evidence. Everything's there, folks. We're just not going to go through. It's going to take hours if we were to go through all this. All right. And we don't have that kind of time. So that means that single mothers are no longer good enough to have children. It's a mother and father can give her a better life. So it's okay to petition for custody. Folks, this is the last order that they've gotten. It's okay for these two people. You can go ahead and say their names. I don't care.
Carrie Hayes
names? Go
and
ahead.
Jeremy Hayes. Yep, Carrie Hayes and Jeremy Hayes.
Carrie Hayes and Jeremy Hayes of where? Spokane, Washington, or Washington?
Spokane, Washington. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Carrie was an alcoholic in the last 2 years to 2 different episodes of treatment. And my ex-husband is a felon. So therefore, they're okay with putting him there, but not her mother that doesn't have anything like that on her record.
Right, because you won't agree that she's a boy.
Correct.
Do you see how
Or
bad
get
this is
her
getting, folks?
medication.
Okay. Let's go to the court thing where you sat there for 2 hours, objected profusely. And then,
Keith, can I say one thing before
yeah,
that?
before that, but go ahead and do that. And everybody else want to get ready because everybody else saw this happening. All right, so go ahead.
The first 2 court dates, mind you, I have evidence they did not even mail the papers until the day of the court or after the court. So no due process whatsoever. It doesn't matter what evidence, they're not going to listen. And this is happening all over the country, not just the US, with thousands and thousands of moms and dads.
So the LGBTQ community is stealing children from their parents, basically with the court's help. That's what we're looking at.
Correct.
They've gotten more power. This cult has gotten, it's a satanic cult, has gotten more power than any president would ever have. More power than any communist China has ever had.
How I understand it, Keith, is that CPS actually, the judge gives them the power to take whatever kid they want to take. Right. They don't even have to have a judge signature. They're just stamping it. And it's not under oath either.
So they can have whatever sex with them or do whatever, they abuse them, sexually abuse them and put them on drugs and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Because I would not be surprised right now, and I know this is your daughter, but I would not be surprised by the time this girl is 17, 18 years old, she is strung out on drugs and she's stripping for a living. Would not be surprised at all. Why would, okay, this is the weird part to me before we get to the court thing. First of all, why would a stepfather be that interested in a stepdaughter? They don't care, they don't care about that stuff. If they leave the mother, they're done. That's that the daughter goes with the mother. That's just the way it works. The daughter goes with blood. Not some kind of stepfather situation, unless the mother dies. And then sometimes they'll stay with their aunts and uncles and stuff. Why would this Hayes people, okay, come in and even be interested in this?
Oh, they're getting paid.
Okay, how much? What are we talking here?
Up to $1,500 a month.
Okay, so now we got money. So they're all right, that makes sense. Okay, now that's starting to make sense. So this is a payday for them. All right, go ahead. Let's get to the court.
Okay.
You've gone through 3 judges.
Yes, the first one got sent to a different department. The second one recused herself, and the third one had a family emergency. And then this is the 4th court hearing.
That's because you keep filing the truth, motions Correct. And stuff like that, the truth, and they keep recusing themselves and getting out of this mess because apparently they know something that nobody else does.
Right.
Or they know who's behind all this and they don't want to get involved, or they don't want to step on any toes.
Right. And they actually are lawyers over here with Project Guardian within the United States of America. They recognize them as counsel until.
Right. Those are non-bar lawyers. All right, go ahead.
Correct. Yep. So they recognize them on paperwork and everything until this last week, and they kicked everybody off the call, so I had to defend myself.
Right, so they had to isolate the mother again because their pressure wasn't working.
Correct.
Their crime was not working. So they had to isolate the mother again to get all the support away from her so that somehow that'll crush you.
Well, it didn't work.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, basically what they're doing, folks, is the judge is stating, well, he's not really even a judge because he doesn't have an Article 6 oath. Oh, what happened when you told him it doesn't have an Article 6 oath? He's all of a sudden a Supreme Court justice, right?
Well, I guess he used the club bones. Jason, do you want to speak on this?
Yeah, this was it. I haven't ever seen anything quite like this in a courtroom before. But it was a trial. It wasn't anything but a smear campaign, basically. That's all it was. But the way when he introduced, the first thing he asked was for roll call. And when he got to my name, he asked if I was a lawyer and had a bar license to practice law in Washington State. And the first thing I said, well, I'm going to need to see an Article 6 oath from all the officers, the lawyers, and you to recognize that this is a court or not. And he answered, said, well, I have a bar attorney's license from the Supreme Court state of Washington or something like that.
Okay, but stop right there. Just so everybody knows, what happened was the state Supreme Court brought the American Bar Association private organization, converted it into some official association or bar association in the state. They call it the state bar. It's still private, but came in and said, okay, in order for anybody to hold office in the judicial branch of that state, you have to be a member of that bar, private organization. That is called, that's a capital crime. That's called a hanging offense that the Supreme Court did. And they did it in all the states. It was orchestrated by the City of London. So the City of London runs all of the courts over in the states. Go ahead.
Right. They can't have a monopoly on the law, like that.
Right.
It's incredible. So basically, he asked if I had a bar license to practice law in Washington State, his, creature state. And I said, of course not. I'm not a member of the private organization, so I don't have a so-called number to that, organization. And then he moved on and asked David if he had a license, and he said, of course not. So basically they excused us that way, got rid of us that way. And
did you ever bring up the Article 6 again?
I tried to, but he would not hear me at all. I asked twice on that. Absolutely.
Okay, so what does that means, folks, is that when he does that, it means he does not have an Article 6. He knows exactly what it is, and he knows that he's committing treason. He knows that.
He's trying to act ignorant because I brought it up a lot of times.
He said he didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
Right.
His court did not recognize the Article 6 oath, which means that he's not recognized.
No, stop right there. Okay. Mm-hmm. Say that again. His court did not recognize the Article 6 oath, a Title 4, Section 101 oath, which means he doesn't recognize the Constitution of the United States.
That he claims on his building, on the courthouse.
Yes.
Right there, plain as day. They claim the Constitution, and they're protected by I forget all the amendments they're claiming that they're protected by. But it's written right on their court house, right on the front of the window. So there's a definite conflict of interest going on here.
There's a conflict in communication, which means he's saying one thing, and which means he's lying because he knows what's going on here. So my question is he gay? Or is he a pedophile? Why does he care about any of this when he knows that this woman and mother in front of her or him has full custody of this girl, and this whole rigmarole crap is made up, and they all know it?
Mm-hmm. We've mentioned the custody order, and he just moved on, went over it like it was nothing.
Completely ignored a court order.
Yes.
Yeah. They
So
do
that,
everything.
yeah, so that means they can do whatever the hell they want when they want. We all know that. We've all seen it, but we have multiple witnesses that can see it and now prove it. So go ahead.
Right,
That
and
was the recordings.
we also asked for an affidavit of the mental health of Tracy, and they could not provide that either. So it's just, it's gone array. They could do whatever they want in their private organizations. That's all it is.
Okay, so the people don't have any more courts. The courts are gone. They're done.
Right.
They're done, right?
Mhm.
Zero courts. Not because of what's happened here. This is case number 220,000 that I've seen in the last 10 years that is doing the same exact thing. They're lying, cheating, stealing. Those courts don't belong to the people anymore. Folks, everybody, folks, not the people on this call, everybody that's listening to this, you have lost your control of your courtrooms. You guys don't have any courtrooms. A foreign country came in and took your courtrooms, which was the city of London, which means Rothschild, a well-known devil worshiper, and the Pope Francis, a well-known devil worshiper, who's claiming that Jesus is the devil's son, because to them, the devil's a god, right?
Well, and Keith, they changed it to canon law when he said he was a Supreme Court judge and he had general jurisdiction. And I said, I'm not in your jurisdiction. I'm international jurisdiction. And then he was asking, what's a private membership? What's a trust? And I said, you just read off your bar card. That's your private membership, sir. You're being judged, jury, and execution right from the bench.
Right. This went on for like 2 hours, right?
Yep. I think he thought I was stupid, but ended up I wasn't so stupid.
So this went on for 2 hours. And eventually what's happened is he told these two complete strangers, acting as if they're a part of this family, that they know this girl, and said, oh, you guys can now petition for custody.
Yep. And then I got the order today. It says it expires on August 4th, but no review hearing is scheduled at all.
Right.
So
now you see why I'm saying that this is kidnapping, because you have a court order that says your custody was never challenged, ever.
Right. And we mentioned that to him also, but
the validity of your custody was never challenged. Nothing.
Correct.
They never had a custody hearing.
Nope.
At all. To remove your custody.
Well, and they also blocked my phone number, got her a new phone so that we couldn't have in contact. And now they're getting ready to try to file for child support.
They want child support from you, the one who has custody.
Yeah.
These two strangers.
Yeah.
What was their name again?
Carrie Hayes and Jeremy Hayes.
Okay. That aren't even closely related to this girl.
They spent time with her maybe here or there in the last couple of years, and not.
And they were brother and sister-in-law of your ex-husband, of which you were divorced from for 8 years.
Correct. I think it was 2009. And it says,
is everybody seeing how crazy this is? I can't even in any way, shape, or form identify what kind of court that is. Even the devil worshippers have rules. This is chaos.
When do they start using canon law in the courts?
That's right. So you've got the Vatican and the City of London running shit in the courts. They're not even talking about the statutes anymore.
And he refused to show me his oath also, or his license.
Anybody else have anything to say on what they witnessed in that courtroom? I know a lot of you guys were there.
Yeah, when he started the that so-called judge started reading off the Bone Club analysis, the Chin's report, my jaw just dropped. It sounded so satanic to me.
What was it? What are you talking about?
So it's their Chin's report that places kids, I guess, around necessary families, and so they had a Bone Club analysis report.
Okay, I don't know if I'm hearing this right. Are you talking about bone as in flesh
Yes.
and bones?
Yes.
Bone.
It's something to do with when they changed it to canon law. And by the time that these guys figured out, he had already removed them from the call.
You're talking about Bone Club?
Yes,
Bone Club
bone
analysis.
clubs.
I'm thinking it's got to do something with us, some skull and crossbones society, something, that is taking control over Washington, the state of Washington's court system,
Hello?
Okay.
It's just a theory, but it sounds so strange to me. Bone Club analysis.
Yeah, that's the first time they have said anything like that. They never.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Let him talk, Jason.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I was checking if my microphone was working, but I thought that was very strange. And to have it, to keep saying it over and over in juvenile court, I mean, I don't know. It sounded graveyardish to me.
Yeah, and you've been in how many of those courts?
A lot. Yeah.
Folks, we're talking 500 to 700 times. All right. I
Yeah,
won't give too much of a background on them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah. Mark has fostered at least how many kids, Mark? That's went through your house and you've never seen anything like this.
Over 700.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of chilling. I kept asking myself, what the hell is this? And he kept saying it, but he totally ignored all the concerns of the mother. I never heard anything derogatory. I never heard a reason why they removed the child from the home. I kept seeing more and more liability going to the court side, and it seemed like he was kind of getting deeper and deeper in it, from my point of view, and not even responding to the mother that is questioning the care of her daughter. And, it doesn't seem like they had a plan, which they're supposed to have a plan to put this family back together again. They're supposed to be having visits and there's a plan. And if there's no plan, then they're not following one. So they got something else going, but I never heard a plan. It seemed like they were trying to take the daughter away from the mother to give them to some other people that she doesn't belong with. And then I thought it was strange that I never heard anything about a home study for the house that they must have had the license to put the child there. And I never heard anything about there being, two males in the home, one 18, and the father. So, it seems like a real explosive situation. Plus, with the circumstances with the daughter moving to a new area, going to a new school, not getting along well with the people because she didn't start the year with everybody. Not only did she not know everybody, she didn't start with everybody, and that kind of puts you at odds when you move into a new school. And then the dichotomy between people bullying her and people embracing her. And it was obvious somebody had an agenda. And, there were many other chilling things that I have seen and heard from other cases. Just having to do with the manipulation of her and the
so
behavior.
in other words, they're supposed to do some kind of study, and these people are supposed to have some kind of license to be able to watch her, correct?
Absolutely. And
Yes.
Okay, so
and
these
actually,
folks don't even have a license.
No, I believe they filed for the license to be a guardian before it all started.
No, that's not it, honey. That's a separate thing. So yeah, I mean, they're bringing that up in open court, that they're applying for guardianship when nothing has been done with this girl yet. They have 18 months to get her back in the home. That is their job. I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear the anybody from social services or the child's counsel trying to get this family back together whatsoever. Nothing. Big Zippo. And every concern that the mother had was just ignored.
Mother meaning Tracy.
Right.
And what was the judge's name?
She's the primary person in her life. Right? And
and she's been talking. Okay, Tracy's been talking to her and actually been giving her money. And they've been texting, and I'm hearing Tracy say, hey, my daughter texts me. She says she misses me and all this. A lot of mixed messages, What was the judge's name?
This one was Judge Raymond Clary. The other two were Jacqueline Hi Edward and Michelle Reza, commissioners.
Okay, I'd highly recommend that man is checked out for pedophilia or investigated for it. I really would.
Well, you might as well look at, inside the CPS.
Yeah, when they're doing that in this particular CPS, when this is going on, yeah, I would say that too.
I would say all of them.
There's probably a lot of LGBTQ agents in there that are going around trying to spread their belief and religion to everybody.
There's a lot of angry women in CPS, and not all of them are women.
Right. So they're going in and purposely breaking up families, and that's what we're seeing. And, what do you expect when you got a pedo in the White House, right?
Well, when you can't make them yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say this. Tracy did ask for his license since he was proceeding illegally and completely ignoring everything that was going on. So I think we have to look at this and realize that he's, at this point, an alleged judge. He did not act like a judge. He acted like someone to come in and completely violate all due process and run her through the ringer and basically steal her kid. So that's not what a judge does. But this guy did that.
Yep. Yeah, he was prosecutor from the bench, which is illegal. Yep.
Right. So he was basically that's what they call arbitrary in international law. When you're doing something arbitrary, in other words, he's just doing something with no rhyme or reason and rulings. There's no legal basis for it in any way, shape, or form. And he is spent 2 hours to do it to get this thing sold to all the agents and all the people that were in the courtroom.
You also don't bring in the foster family and use them to tear down the mother.
Right, because the foster family is supposed to want to get the children back into their homes.
That's the objective. Yes.
To get the families back together, not break them up.
They don't want to be in a foster home. I mean, they're hit there with every rule, but if they're not, I can't say foster home. I guess I would say, she wasn't in the kind of care that, if they say that she's, got all these problems, that she should have been in. She should have been in group home care if that was the case. But I believe that if that were the deal, She might be home.
Yeah, I've never heard of a brother of his brother, you know, the ex-wife wanting to take their daughter. I've never heard of that in my entire life. That in itself is a little twisted to me. That's actually really twisted.
Well,
Unless the mother wanted a daughter at one time,
well,
and she's just using her as some kind of thing
Actually,
to fill in her crazy.
actually, since you said that, she made a comment that if I ever don't want Riley, she would adopt her because her 18-year-old was leaving the house, basically a nest, and she's never been able to have a daughter. So she had two boys, and she has fun with my daughter when they did hang out. And like I said, it was maybe 6 times in total 2 years until recently.
Okay, so you're never going to give up custody.
Nope.
That's definitely not going to happen. So at this point, the daughter is they all of them, everybody involved except for you, is in contempt of court, of a court order, because that daughter is supposed to be with you. There has been no bruises, no abuse, no nothing. Because I'm sure that, you know, giving your daughter $500 worth of stuff and all this other junk was probably abusive as could be. Why? Because because they were dresses.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah, you know how it is. And I hear you crunching all the time, so I know there's always food in the house.
Yeah.
Crunching chips and everything else. So there was always
Maybe
food in the house.
Yeah. Oh no, she had to make her lunch by herself because she's 14, right?
Oh my God, that's just horrible. The humanity. Anybody else have anything to say about this fiasco joke of a group of people that are so desperate and twisted that they got to steal families so that they can survive and get what they want? What I'm thinking is there's this satanic group in that city, and like I said, I would not be surprised if this girl was not a stripper by the time she's 18.
There's a
Shaved head
satanic
stripper with
school.
tattoos all over, freaking stripping for a living.
There's a satanic school and 3 Mason lodges, I guess, near the school, along with Planned Parenthood. And this judge just happens to be defending Planned Parenthood.
Right. So he doesn't mind killing babies. So we know that. We know his moral compass is a little bit twisted, right?
Yes, and he was actually appointed by our governor.
Well, it wasn't my governor, but I know.
Well, Tracy, there are like 120 complaints against this guy.
No, actually, in the whole United States, Spokane is on there a lot.
she was new to the area from clear across the country, and she didn't have any support system.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he is, as of 2015 already, he was the 116th judge. The number as far as the complaints against him for kidnapping and CPS, along with many other judges.
So how many?
He was number 116th out of the whole United States, out of all the courts.
Of that many complaints against him?
Correct.
And this guy's still on the bench?
Correct. And actually I had some people, other people from Spokane reach out to me that they're in the same county. So I'm not sure what judges they have, but I'm sure it's all in it together.
Okay, so basically what we're looking at here is you got private prisons, you've got crazy ass judges stealing children on behalf of a religion. It's Baal Peor religion. It has nothing to do with being gay. Gay was a made up word. It's a Baal Peor priest or priestess is what they are. They all been labeled something different to make it sound better. But that's exactly what they are. It's a religion, folks. You got to realize that. It's a religion that was created by Balaam in the face of our Father in heaven to rebel against him. And that's what the purpose of the religion is to rebel against your Creator, your Most High, your Father in heaven, Yahweh. However you refer to him as, that's what they're doing. And apparently the Catholic Church has gone to Baal Peor, has joined Balaam because they just professed a couple of weeks ago that Jesus was the devil's son, or is Satan's son, because to them Satan is God, not the real one. Okay, and that's sick and twisted. We've already objected to that. That's just, it's so twisted that that's a nightmare within itself. And believe me, we've objected to that, put it in the newspaper, the whole thing. That's just ludicrous. That is not what the Bible says. That is just a bunch of twisted people doing some twisted things. They're in so deep that they've got to find a way to get out of it, twisted in a way of getting out of the guilt that they're doing, and eventually that's just going to blow. You can't keep lying to yourself over and over again and you not just blow it. In other words, you just freak out. The conscience can only take so much, and then it'll resist. It'll blow up. All right, anybody else that has anything to say or that you wanted to say about what you witnessed?
Yeah, I think one more thing that I remember. Tracy gave the attorney power of attorney to help legally represent her, and that was completely denied. She brought it up several times, and they really, like you said, targeted her and completely just cut off her legal representation in this case. She was by herself. So I think that it also leads to, this judge, something's not right in that court.
So when he got rid of the friends and counsel, he didn't even offer her any kind of representation after that, correct?
None.
They just said, okay, now you're alone.
Yep.
And that okay, go ahead.
They did offer her if she wanted to seek some of their counsel. Remember, Tracy? They offered you, since yours were not approved by the court, did you need another that they could offer to you?
Yes, that is correct. And I said, no.
Okay. So they did one thing according to their own rules. Out of all that was going on, one thing happened that is according to their rules, right? I'm not saying the rules are right. I'm not advocating for, in any way, shape, or form, for attorneys to take over the judicial branch. I'm not saying that any of this shit is right from start to finish. However, if the people are going to lose their control over their courts, and by the way, folks, if you don't think this is being done in your name, you got another thing coming. If you're a voter in that place, they are doing everything in your name.
Right.
You just don't realize it. Everything that judge says and everything that those lawyers are doing, they're doing in your name. You are fully liable for their actions. It may appear as if you're separate from them, but you're not. Because every time we've ever said something like this to a judge, in the past, he's always said, I was elected by the people. I'm doing their will. Really, you're over here stealing, and that's their will. Which means that people can go ahead and start suing the people of that county for civil rights violations. You get what I'm saying? In other words, folks, you're going to start paying through the nose if you don't get control of your freaking courts. Because we're going to start advocating for people to sue your asses. Your sorry asses that are sitting there doing absolutely nothing to control your courts. I guarantee that's where I'm going. And y'all are going to pay me for the stupid shit these cops do and the stupid shit these lawyers do, prosecutors, I catch them violating one rule. It's your ass. I'm coming after you for the money. I've been damaged by you. Whether y'all like it or not, that's what's going on. If it takes us a few burns in your pocketbook to get you to wake the hell up, then that's what it's going to be. And say, hey, we need to get these lawyers the hell out of our damn courts and out of our legislatures.
Right. Hey, Keith, I would like to also say that any whistleblowers, we have a whistleblower email on Project Guardian. You don't have to put your name, put the evidence, any teachers, any judicial court officers, CPS, please bring that stuff forward. Moms, dads, write an affidavit, send it in. The more evidence we have, we can close the courts or CPS down. Without that evidence, we can't do anything.
And
So
everything, everything that was talked about tonight, we do have evidence for it. It's all there. It's recordings, everything. Paperwork, the whole deal. Go ahead.
Is it okay if I share screen for a second to pull Project Guardian up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great.
And by the way, this isn't the first case that's done this. We've seen this over and over. I've gotten to a point where I'm just tired of hearing about it. That's how bad it is. And I'm not saying I don't have empathy for what's going on, but this is just out of control. They're openly taking kids. Openly. Open court. Doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to take this child from her mother and put her over with this group of people.
Because
this
you don't
couple
agree
over
with
here.
them.
Because they can. Go ahead.
What it must
Okay.
be like in big cities.
It's all over. All right. Project Guardian was made as a private membership association to help protect the families